political situation or economy, or they wouldn't find job, or they wouldn't marry the girl that they love, or whatever, or the man that she loves. So you will get lots of suicide numbers in Iraq. Lots of people who commit suicide, almost 300 a month, almost. But after the protest in Iraq, it dropped to zero.
Wow.
Literally to zero. I will share the statistics about that.
Nice.
Because after the protest, people and the new generation felt safe. Actually, I talked to one of the leaders in the protest, not the leaders, let's say protesters. He said all the suiciders who are having the suicide idea, they are on the front lines now.
Nice.
They are demanding for a better future. They are demanding for a nurid watan, for a homeland. And they stopped this. They canceled the idea of suicide now because they felt that they're not alone. There's lots of people with them. There's lots of people who thinks like them, and there's lots of people who want to open to the world. They don't want to be in jail like Iran. Definitely no.
You mentioned Nuridu Watan, which is the slogan of the Iraqi protest movement. We want a homeland. Mm-hmm. How does that differ from the popular Arab Spring slogan, which is الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام? The people want the destruction of the regime.
Because in Iraq they have the base for democracy. Let's say they have the guidelines for democracy. It's different in the Arab countries. They are dictatorship regimes. So they want that down, and they have to change it to a democratic, of course, democratic regimes. So we have that in Iraq almost, barely. I mean, not almost, barely. So this is why the youth are on the street now, demanding a few things. One of them is new elections, early elections, I mean, and a new prime minister that secure a free elections, and a new commission, and new electoral law. What's elections law?
Yeah, elections law.
So these are their demands. They don't want to change the constitution.
So it's a positive signal.
Yes.
It's a moving forward march rather than restarting or starting over.
Exactly. They're going on the streets to rebuild the democracy again.
I see.
Because the Iranians and the Americans destroyed the democracy in 2010 when they got Nur al-Maliki. So people now on the streets are demanding for the real democracy to go back.
Got it. Here's my last question before I get to your questions. So you've been in the States now for about 6 months?
Yeah.
And you're leaving soon?
Yeah, 1 week.
Yeah. What have been your impressions of the U.S.?
Yeah, it's a good country. Yeah, very nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it? Just 6 months?
Vegas is not that big. I thought it's bigger.
All right. Well, I can go on all night, but that wouldn't be fair to you. So please, if you have a question, we have 2 mics. You may line up. I'll be going right, left. So if you have a question, please grab the mic and ask your question.
But how prescriptive are you? Meaning, when you're doing the show, I've never seen the show outside that little clip. How often do you tell people maybe what are some good ideas of what to do versus just point out the faults of politicians of Iraq? Meaning, like, do you recommend certain plans of action for people, or do you just mostly respond to the shortcomings of the government or report the news as you do?
Yeah, sometimes we do that, not regularly actually, because we are not ready. You can sit, please. Thank you. I don't think we are ready now because we need lots of expertise with us, advisors to help us what to do and what not to do. But this is exactly the next level of the show, actually. Telling the people how to make things right now. We know the bad things, we know the things that they've done wrong. So now, what should we do in the future? I think this is a politician's work. And I think this is why they're getting so much money and so much power and so much connections to do. And it's not our job, it's their job. We're trying to show them where the bad things are, and they're not fixing that. So maybe the next level when we start to promote for our own politicians and own people who go to the parliament, maybe we can work on that. But for me, I can't tell them what to do or not to do.
Hello, my name is Julie. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you, Julie.
My question is, the clip that we viewed before you started talking was in English.
Yeah.
So how does the language change affect the audience, content, and intention of the show?
Okay. Yeah, actually, it's way different. This is why the writers in English are different from the writers in Arabic. The writers in English are people who live here. And I didn't know that they can be funny, but this new generation surprise me all the time. And they are like 20, 21, 20.
You're writers?
Yeah, two
Really?
are 20s, yes.
Wow.
But they know about Iraq more than, I'm sure, more than Nur al-Maliki. Yeah, I mean, he's very good with Iran, actually. I know he knows a lot about Iran, yes. And these writers are different. So you can see lots of jokes that I was saying I need to understand. Like, what is this joke? Who's that guy? How is that connected? How is that funny? So they need to explain. So for them, it's a hard job. First to write the joke, then to explain the joke to the guy who's going to say the joke. So it's amazing, but we did only 3 episodes now. We're doing the 4th. Hard work with the English episodes, much more than the Arabic version of the show. But I believe it's worth it because people outside needs to understand the story of Iraq.
Before the next question, what is unique or different, if any, about Iraqi humor? Is it like a unique flavor to Iraqi humor, Iraqi jokes, Iraqi satire?
Well, no. Actually, we're using the same rules of comedy that everyone uses around the world. You know, funny things, jokes, it's always the same, almost the same around the world.
Okay.
Except the children jokes, of course, which is different. But the adult jokes are almost the same.
I was just wondering, since you're doing more shows in English, I'm guessing you're trying to reach an English-speaking audience, which includes America, and a lot of our coverage about Iraq, recently at least, is related to Iranian activities within Iraq. So I was wondering, with the direction of your show, is there any specific strategy you have to talk, like trying to change the narrative to be talking more about the protests? Are you going to be covering some stuff about Iran in Iraq? What's the strategy when talking to an English-speaking audience?
Okay, so the plan now is telling the Iraqi story, because I suddenly found out that the American people don't know who Sunni and Shia are. Like they believe like there is no, they don't know why they're fighting. And yeah, exactly. And when I realized that they don't know why they're fighting, I was like, yes, why they're fighting? They're the same. Why they're fighting? So now we have to go back to the roots to tell the whole story, to explain to the people, so you can understand what's happening in Iraq. You have to go to all the details, of course, from the beginning. Then we go and catch up with the things now. So. As you see, we are talking about things in 2003, 2004, 2006. And in this episode, we were talking about Nur al-Maliki.